Hello there, welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 4, Episode 13, A Deadly Maze. Written by Juanita Bartlett and directed by William Wyatt. The episode begins with Jim called to a mysterious house by the mysterious Ulbach, played by MASH's Larry Linville.
How can you clown this way? Don't you realize the danger you're in?
Ulbach wants to hire Jim to find his wife Tracy, but Jim finds his attitude odd and doesn't want the case. But Ulbach sells him a sob story and he eventually accepts. Jim runs a number plate Ulbach gave him through Dennis and upsets Rocky by having to cancel a boat trip with him.
You forgot.
Well, I'm sorry.
When he checks the address Dennis gave him, that of a Max Savachki, he is a woman in distress, but Savachki takes off. Jim then finds a bloody apron and manages to con Dennis into checking it for human blood. Ulbach is furious that Jim went to the police, and then something odd happens. We're shown two men listening in to their conversation, perhaps in the same closet the Frenchmen were using just a few episodes ago. Things get even weirder when Ulbach starts asking Jim a series of odd questions.
Are you concerned about Tracy or for yourself? Because you're afraid? Because of the element of danger which may now exist?
We're well into the first act of this episode by this point, and have far more questions than answers. The biggest one being, what the hell is going on? Ulbach is more than just a bit of an oddball. He's clearly hiding something, but is so cold and clinical, it's as if he's trying to make Jim and us suspicious of him. Like he's laying it on a bit too thick.
I may not display my emotions, Mr. Rockford, but that doesn't mean I'm without them.
We know he's up to something, thanks to the shot of his eavesdropping goons, but what it is as clear as mud. It's a risky strategy to combine the mysterious nature of the plot with the general tone of unease, and has the feeling of one of those Halloween episodes certain shows would do every now and then, where it all turned out to be a dream, or Ulbach would turn out to be a vampire. It's kind of a liminal episode, something that gives you a feeling of disorientation, but you're unable to articulate exactly why. Things aren't made any clearer when Savachki arrives at Jim's trailer with his own goon and threatens Jim, and Jim then can't get a hold of Ulbach, which he finds odd considering Ulbach's wife is missing. Jim tells Rocky he feels the same way that we do, and while that might bring comfort to us, it puts a bee in Jim's bonnet.
I'm going to go down and have a little talk with him.
He storms off to Ulbach's office and stumbles upon none other than Tracy Ulbach.
You're Tracy Ulbach.
I know who I am.
She explains that rather her being mentally unstable, it's Ulbach that's the nut. He's insanely jealous, and Jim's not the first PI that Ulbach has hired. But Jim remains unconvinced, and as the two goons are still listening, I think he has every right to be unconvinced. He then watches as Tracy gets into the car of a third man, neither Ulbach nor Savachki. Jim's had enough of this charade and tells Ulbach as much, but then manages to talk himself into investigating further, with so many pieces of the puzzle missing. He tracks down a fourth man, George, the first honest man that Jim's encountered, who tells him exactly where to find Tracy. And he finds her all right, murdered by the guy whose car she jumped into. As things turn from mysterious to murderous, we're still no clear on what's going on. But at least we're dealing with a simple case of murder now, and we can temporarily put the Ulbach stuff to one side. Especially as we discover that Tracy's surname is in fact Marquette. It's an incredibly clever move to use Tracy's murder as a stabilising force in this so far pretty unsettling story, and it's remarkable how well it works. It's the inverse of reality, where if we met a weirdly emotionless man in real life, we'd likely brush it off, while encountering a murder victim would be far more disturbing and unsettling. But here, in the world of detective fiction, we are comforted by the murder, because now we know the rules, and the rules begin to kick in immediately as Rockford begins to investigate the murder. Jim quickly begins to unravel the mystery, the old-fashioned way, and finds out Ulbach is actually Dr. von Ulbach, a behavioural scientist at Pepperdine University, who happens to be employing Savatsky and his goon. Jim cons his way into the college and busts Ulbach and his goons reviewing Jim's recordings.
I got a whole lot of questions.
They've been using Jim as a lab rat. The whole thing was an experiment into how stress affects high-risk workers, like PIs, in completion of their tasks. But Tracy's murder was not part of it. Jim is none too impressed with Ulbach's lack of concern for Tracy's death and uses George, the only genuine person he's met so far, to coerce the information out of Ulbach.
What kind of a creepy...
Let him go, George. Let me finish with him, okay?
It's revealed that the murderer was one Phil D'Agosto, a driver for ageing star Billy Baines, who was in love with Tracy. D'Agosto killed Tracy when she refused to con the old man out of his fortune, and he's quickly brought to justice by Jim. This is a genuinely fascinating episode, unlike anything we've seen before. The way it constructs the first act to be so unnerving, where we have no idea what's going on, and whatever it is seems so unfamiliar, only to then flip that on its head when it becomes a murder case, it's almost like an inverted ghost story, where instead of going from the comfortable known world to the supernatural world, we go from the supernatural to the known. This eerie, spooky premise turns out to be just a weird experiment by a highly unethical psychologist that happens to cross paths with the murder of a woman by a con man. In another world, there was an equally compelling episode about Jim investigating the disappearance of Billy Baines' young girlfriend, Tracy Marquette, but Bartlett manages to give this entire thing a novel spin, creating something I think is really groundbreaking, by introducing coming at the story from a completely different angle. As I've said before of Bartlett's episodes, this could have been a feature-length movie in its own right, and it's staggering that she was able to craft it into a 45-minute episode of television so well. Easily a 5 out of 5 for me. Thank you. Goodbye.